Hello, hello. My name's Ben. I'm here with Don Barrie here today. How are you doing today?
Good,
Not too
good.
bad. Merry Christmas. Merry
Merry Christmas
Christmas.
Day. Yeah.
If you'd just like to introduce yourself, what you've done for Peterborough a bit, and some sports, just so we know who you are there.
Well, I essentially grew up in Peterborough,
Mhm.
born in Oakville, but uh, went to high school here, went to Trent University part time here,
Mhm.
and I taught for 34 years in the city, high school and elementary, and became very involved in basically hockey and lacrosse. And coached both at the senior and junior level in the city and some international lacrosse. And was fortunate to be with the Canadian team that won the World Championship in 1978, the first time the Americans had been beaten for the field
We
lacrosse.
love that. We love that.
Yeah. And essentially, after that, I've been very active in the Sports Hall of Fame here in the city. I'm a member of and help out there, and uh, that's essentially it.
Well, that's amazing. Well, you're pretty well known here, and as you know, it is Christmas time, and around this time, a lot of stories are read to kids and just the community areas, right? And one of the most interesting ones I find is your "Don't Skate Near the Lift Locks," and it's just a collection of stories around Peterborough, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. And what inspired you to do that? Like, what gave you the idea to write this book?
Well, that book is a composite of my columns. I started when I retired from teaching in 1995. I was asked to write a weekly sports column in the Peterborough Examiner, the local paper,
Oh yeah.
and and I wrote that till a year ago. I wrote it for 24 years, over 1,500 columns,
Oh my, that's amazing.
once a week. I never missed a week. And anyway, the first book I wrote was a composite of some of the earlier columns that I wrote that dealt specifically to the city's sports and so on.
The involvement, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then later I wrote another a book or put together another book called uh, Sports in Peterborough, and it's uh, of later columns.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. Because I find this when you have multiple published books. Obviously, we have 50 years with the Pete's, hockey, Peterborough, and multiple published books. But this one just seems very, very community based.
Yes, yeah, it's because of the columns. I also wrote a fairly big, long book on the history of lacrosse in Peterborough,
Hmm.
and I updated that 5 years later, a second edition, and I wrote three novels in the intervening time, tied in with lacrosse and hockey here in the city.
Well, that one has a very big history of the National Lacrosse League that we see now, correct?
Yeah, yeah. The city played some pro lacrosse, but the National Lacrosse League, when it came in 1974, I was an assistant coach with the Philadelphia Wings,
Oh, yes.
and then the next year in '75, the I got involved with the Washington team,
Hmm.
which was called the Maryland Arrows, and was ended up coaching it. And then the league folded,
Oh.
and it was resurrected a few years later with a few efforts of different leagues, and now the National Lacrosse League has nearly 20 teams
It's
right
blown up.
across North America.
Most
It's
recently,
really taken off.
most
Yeah,
recently opening up in Ottawa, correct? With the
in
Ottawa
Ottawa,
Black Bears
the
there.
Black Bears.
And I
Yeah,
know the Buffalo Bisons, they're very, very popular at the
the
moment.
Bandits. Yeah,
Bandits, Buffalo Bandits, yes,
yeah,
very, very popular.
and Rochester's been in it since the beginning, and Philadelphia has returned uh, as the Wings. We were the Wings in '74 when the first year,
Brought
so
it back
it's
to the
come back.
original.
So they're back and kept the same name. Yeah.
That's amazing. Well, bringing it back to the book there, in the book, you talk specifically, there is a section specifically called The Story Don't Skate Near the Lift Locks. It involves some fighting and some really good stories. Is that a personal story about your experiences growing up in Peterborough in post-war time, or is that just kind of an overall general idea of what it was to grow up in Peterborough at that time?
Well, the actual story that don't skate near the left lock was through my own experience. In my teenage years, there weren't as many outdoor rinks,
Hmm.
and of course, there was only the one indoor rink in the city. So we played hockey on the canal.
I mean, why
Uh,
wouldn't you?
yeah, and but it was kind of interesting because uh, the kids in East City, or which is technically Ashburnham,
Hmm.
sort of claimed the canal as theirs,
Oh,
you know, and so you had to know somebody in a way to go over and get involved in the games
yeah,
over
ticket
there.
to ride almost.
Yeah, so you get an invite in and you go and you play over there, and usually on the weekend afternoons. And anyway, I remember an old fella. Well, he was old to me. He was, uh, he told me we used to play fairly close to the left lock, and he said, "Don't go up near the tubs up there where the boats go in."
Of course.
Because he says the ice is thin. So, and I noticed it. There were some pucks up there that people didn't venture up to
Oh
get
no,
that
well
slid up there.
it does say in the
So I
story you'll go
thought,
right
hey,
through.
hey, that sort of stuck with me, and I thought, well, that'd be a great title. So,
Well, I don't know if
and,
he knew
and
he'd
so that
inspire a
was
story.
that was where that story came from. Yeah,
That's amazing. That's amazing. Well, he inspired a good story. Well,
yeah,
you speak on the East Town and the different parts of Peterborough and claiming the sort of rivalries through sports that were created there. You mentioned how there were four distinct communities, especially in post-war
yeah,
Peterborough, and how it was the sides of a compass, north, south, east, west. And
yeah,
then you were saying the rest is downtown,
yeah.
basically. Do you think that is still distinct in Peterborough sports now, or do you think it's morphed a little or changed a little? How would you describe it
Oh, it's
now?
changed completely. Back then, there was basically East City, and those kids over there in the schools, uh, and then there was the South End guys, and anybody that lived south of Lansdowne Street,
Oh, yes.
and they had a unique. They were mainly there were a lot of what we called in the day wartime housing down there, built after the war for workers and so on. So they were middle class uh, kids from families. Kenner Collegiate, when it opened in '52,
Hmm.
I started there in '53, the second year in grade 9. And it was mainly a working class, and the only other high school uh, was PCBS right downtown. And it
Oh,
was,
okay.
so it was a real class difference between us.
And that
We
would
just
create
delighted
that
in,
created conflict there,
yeah,
correct?
and quite a conflict. And then other high schools opened. Adam Scott opened, and Crestwood, and eventually Thomas A. Stewart in the '60s.
And a community such as Peterborough, like which is so sports rich, that would come out in the sports, correct?
Yes,
Claiming the canal, claiming the arenas and the single indoor you were
yeah,
saying
and
there.
the West End guys, which we were, and so there was a real rivalry. But today, because they're going to the rinks, and wherever the rink is, it happens to be that, so there's not near that sort of loyalty to your geographic area.
There's more availability now, so there isn't that need for the claiming of areas
Yeah,
or that
yeah,
rivalry there.
and the kids of the day don't sort of play uh, unorganized sports like we did. Like we
Hmm.
played tackle football on the fields all fall. We played road hockey all winter,
Oh yeah.
and we played baseball. We just go the kids don't do that to the same degree. It's got to be organized now,
Mm-hmm.
and unfortunately, the city officials have forced that with rules and so on. You can't get on fields and so on.
Well, you can't skate near the lift locks. There you
No,
go.
and no, you can't even skate. Like they don't clear that. Back then they didn't clear it, but like the kids in the East City cleared it, and that's why they
You got to
claimed
create
it.
the homemade Zamboni there.
Yeah. No, it was all just by shovels. There were no snow blowers. I'd show that.
Well, you talk about the community and how obviously you would be outside playing sports all the time. And if you ever visit Peterborough, it's obviously such a sports rich community. The Peterborough Petes are so beloved, and the Peterborough Lakers lacrosse team is so beloved, the junior and the senior level. What do you say, as somebody who's been involved with sports their entire life, what do you say sports is to a community? And what makes Peterborough so special in that community?
I think first of all, it's the geographic area, the rivalries. We're sort of isolated a little bit from the Greater Toronto area.
Just a little farther out.
Yeah, we're just on the edge. So we were in the east side, and that's why, like, we had an identity of being out here. We were never associated with the GTA, Greater Toronto area, Oshawa, and even Kitchener and Guelph on the other side.
Now even down to
Yeah,
Hamilton now.
yeah, and Hamilton sort of had a feeling that they were part of. We never felt we were. Toronto was a rivalry, a
Oh
rival,
yeah.
and
We weren't part of that.
no, and we weren't part of them, and we always delighted whenever we were in a situation to play a Toronto team to beat them. That was a big deal, and so that was the one thing. The other thing is that when lacrosse started and hockey here, the senior B before the Petes came, we were an industrial town with 3 or 4 big factories, and we would bring players in, special players, and offer them a factory job. So the lacrosse in the 50s won 4-man cups, and they imported about 8 guys from different teams. They were sort of the scourge of the league. Everybody looked down, but every one of those guys they brought in is in the Lacrosse Hall of Fame. I mean, but the thing is, they
Could've picked the right
stayed.
guys.
Most of them stayed after, raised families, and then next generations, and passed on their knowledge. And I think because we're somewhat isolated from that, we sort of keep our knowledge of the game. Lacrosse has a Peterborough way to it
Yeah.
that others identify.
Which you went over in your book that you wrote,
Yeah,
correct? Yeah.
yeah. And people will say, well, that's a Peterborough. There was, we started, Coach Bobby Allen here started to use basketball picks and screens and rolls. And they called it in lacrosse the Peterborough pick.
Oh,
All across Canada, it was the Peterborough pick. But it was just a basketball move that Bobby Allen brought to lacrosse because there's a major similarity in the way the two games are played.
wow. So that community being built surrounding the factories and granting jobs to get that appeal built a community where people would stay and pass on their knowledge. And I feel like that's something that sports can really do for a community. Obviously, Peterborough being an example.
Exactly.
I think you can build an amazing community surrounding that people want to stay in and raise families, as you were saying, and create amazing stories such as Don't Skate Near the Lift Lock, which, you can be
Right.
read around at Christmas and all these
Yeah.
different things. Well, thank you so much. That was
Okay.
amazing. Much appreciated. Merry Christmas again.
Okay.
And Merry Christmas to everybody. Thank you,
Okay.
Pop. Much appreciated.